Well, good morning, everybody. I would like to make a statement on these exceptional circumstances in which we find ourselves. Last night, British, French, and American armed forces conducted coordinated and targeted strikes to degrade the Syrian regime's chemical weapons capability and to deter their further use. For the UK, the Royal Air Force launched Storm Shadow missiles at a military facility some 15 miles west of Homs, where the regime is assessed to keep chemical weapons, and this is in breach of Syria's obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention. The Chemical Weapons Convention is one of the oldest international norms that we have, dating from 1899. Let me explain why we've taken this action. Last Saturday, a week ago, up to 75 people were killed in a barbaric attack in Douma, with as many as 500 further casualties. All the indications is that this was a chemical weapons attack. A significant body of information, including intelligence, indicates the Syrian regime is responsible for this latest attack. And we know that the Syrian regime has a track record of using chemical weapons against its own people, including in eastern Ghouta in 2013 and in Khan Sheikhoun in 2017. We have sought to stop chemical weapons using every diplomatic means that we have. But as you know, Russia has vetoed in this chamber 6 times on chemical weapons to prevent accountability for previous attacks and to prevent the establishment of an investigative mechanism. So we had no choice but to conclude that diplomatic action on its own will not be any more effective in the future than it has been in the past. The United Kingdom believes that it was both right and legal to take military action together with our closest allies to alleviate further humanitarian suffering by degrading the Syrian regime's chemical weapons capability and deterring the use of chemical weapons. Our action was a limited, targeted, and as it proved, effective strike with clear boundaries. These boundaries expressly sought to deter escalation, to avoid escalation, and we did everything possible to avoid civilian casualties. Together, Britain, US, and France hit a specific and limited set of targets. These were a chemical weapons storage and production facility, a key chemical weapons research centre, and a military bunker involved in chemical weapons attacks. Hitting these targets with the force that we have deployed will significantly degrade the Syrian regime's ability to research, develop, and deploy chemical weapons. This collective action sends a clear message that the international community will not stand by and will not tolerate the use of chemical weapons. Looking ahead, the United Kingdom, for our part, remains committed to working with our partners in the Council to resolve the conflict through a political solution. There must be a wider diplomatic effort, including the full range of political and economic levers, to strengthen the global norms prohibiting use of chemical weapons, which have stood for nearly a century. We cannot allow the use of chemical weapons to become normalised, whether that is in Syria or on the streets of Salisbury. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions.
What proportion is it estimated of the chemical weapons infrastructure that Syria has that was destroyed or degraded last night? Is there any sense of that?
Well, I think there will be separate military briefings coming later from the 3 capitals involved, so I will allow that to take place. But I will tell you that it was a limited strike with a targeted objective, and I think that's a very important factor.
Ambassador,
so I'm going to take this person first.
You've touched upon this in your remarks, but could you spell out for us the legal basis for these strikes?
Well, I will set that out in the Council in full. We have published it on our website here in New York, and it has been published by the government in London on the government website. But in a nutshell, it was to alleviate the humanitarian suffering of the people of Syria, which has been exacerbated by the use of chemical weapons. In the British government's view, in truly exceptional circumstances, it is right to have a humanitarian exemption, and international law does not prohibit this where it is to alleviate humanitarian distress, particularly on the scale we have seen in Syria.
Ambassador, should we wait any new strikes in Syria?
I'm sorry?
Should we wait any new strikes?
I don't have any comment to make on further strikes.
Ambassador, President Trump said he was considering a sustained response, that they would strike again if chemical weapons were used again. Is Britain on board with that as well?
We stand full square with President Trump and President Macron. This is a P3 action. We will stay in very close touch with our allies about next steps.
Ambassador, the Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, has questioned the legality of these strikes. You are certain about the legality?
Yes, we are certain. Thank you for asking, but the government is very certain. Thank you very much.